and get this conversation going. And, you know, reminding everybody that Jonny, he's a pretty open book from what every conversation I've had. And so if questions kind of come into your brain, feel free to unmute and, you know, throw them in into the conversation and or put them into the chat, and Rachel and Pip are going to help monitor that chat. One of the things that I want to make sure you all know coming out of this conversation as well is that Pip is a resource guru. She has just been one of the most resourceful people, not to keep using the word resourceful, but it's just the best definition of her, to help with conversations that we have today, tomorrow, and hopefully in the future as you take these ideas and these concepts into your own communities and have things like Coffee in Progress discussions within the groups and organizations you work for. So very quickly, Pip, is there any resource you want to pin out before I start putting Jonny on the spot here, literally, with some questions?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I find it hard to just like narrow it down to one. So after this call, you'll get an extensive booklet of resources to, you know, promote action. Like Candice said, it's progress. So you leave this call with these resources to think I can actually implement them. This is a kind of quick overview of some of the main things, especially because we said this is about allyship in the workplace. So what can we all be doing as members of the soccer community, people who work in soccer, to make the industry better? So some organizations that we're really stoked about, Common Goal are running an anti-racism project, and that's a comprehensive needs-based training curriculum that tackles systematic racism at all levels of the game. So that's something that you can all look at afterwards. Athlete Ally, we tout in every single one of these events because they're such a brilliant organisation that takes a really intersectional approach to addressing inequity in the game, and they have an anti-racist pledge and donate to anti-racist organisations. At the Anti-Racist Soccer Club, if we have any USL reps on the call, I was extremely pleased to get to see them in action live at the USL Winter Summit, and they talked about their sort of slogan is performative statements have to be replaced with impactful action, and we're all here for action. So the thing that they've come out with is a 10-point plan for organisations to get involved with. And for instance, one of their points is Point 9, you can partner with organisations that are supporting anti-racist efforts. And in many ways, we're all doing that right now by linking up with people who are obviously all inspired and encouraged about connecting with people that want to do this work. So to keep that rolling, I'd love, like, when we get off this call, look at the organisations and the resource kits and suggest them to your management. If you are management, get that rolled into next week's meeting and get some action steps in your organisation. I'm also going to highlight some articles and newsletter. The Undefeated newsletter is a newsletter I really love, and it explores the intersections of race, sports and culture. And a tip I kind of have for you all, especially implementing organisations, is most of us put out weekly newsletters, monthly newsletters, or have meetings. Highlight some of these newsletters that we're going to put in the resource documents in your own work, so you can spread anti-racist initiatives throughout the game and what you're doing in your organisation. The last article I highlight right now is from The Athletic, and it's about how API players reflect on their identity and belonging in soccer. From a conversation I had just yesterday with Jonny, I was really inspired to think about how, of course, API is like an extensive label. It's not a monolithic concept. There's many different ethnic groups in this kind of identity. So the more we understand that, the more we can create an environment that upholds and it supports every type of identity that might be in the game. And then lastly, we'll highlight some social things as well. I think it's great to follow social accounts that are doing anti-racist work, because then it's a sort of daily, easy reminder of things you can do. I looked at the Black Women's Players Collective, which is obviously phenomenal. And also we've got the NWSL API, which is about celebrating Asian and Pacific Islanders who are in the game. And one thing I want to suggest right now to any USL reps or other reps from organisations is, do you have sort of similar accounts, or can you promote, as you develop new leagues and organisations, you know, sub-social groups that really uplift and support and celebrate different identities in the game, so players can see that they have a place in soccer? So yeah, that's my condensed list of resources right now, and you'll get the full thing after the call. And yeah, I will hand over to Candice to get the show on the road. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, and this is a great segue, because Jonny, you helped to lead the API advocacy group for United Soccer Coaches. So give us a little bit of info about what the group is doing, who they're serving, maybe if for those that don't quite know what API stands for, like where that, you know, and who that includes, and then what allies can do for that space that you're helping to lead.
So I'm going to start off first, Candice. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with United Soccer Coaches and the convention that they hold every year. And I was at their convention, I forget, maybe 25 years ago or so. And it was the first time that they started the Black Soccer Coaches Association. And I was walking with my coaching friends, or three or four of us. They're again, American. I consider myself American, but they're Caucasian American. And the comments were, why do they have to have their own association? Like, we're supposed to be in this together. Like, why do they need their own thing? And I thought about that and I was like, yeah, why do they have to have their own thing? And then they joked and said, Johnny, you should start the Asian Coaches Association. And I said, yeah, an association of one, because I was the only Asian coach walking around Kansas City at that time. It was like the only one. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then I was at the coaches convention again last month. I met Candice there again in person. And again, I was with some friends. I would call them high level people in US soccer, again, Caucasian males. And they said, why do you guys have to have an advocacy group? It's called United Soccer Coaches for a reason. We should be united. Why do we have to have this separation all the time? And it's interesting if you want to think about it, like, I guess esoterically, or just like in a Disneyland, like that'd be great if the people in power were able to say, hey, let's celebrate Chinese New Year this year. Hey, let's celebrate I don't know, diversity day or something like, but they never did that in the past. And this is one of the reasons. So for me, sorry, Candice, I'm going roundabout. So for me, when I think about women and their rights and how their rights globally have been kind of stamped out, right? It wasn't until I forget the actual what time, was it the 20s or 30s? I forget the actual days of when they finally allow women to vote in America. And then it wasn't until like the 50s where they allow Black women to vote. And it was like, okay, we'll let Caucasian women to vote because their Caucasian husbands are going to tell them who to vote for, right? But we can't let like any other race women vote because they don't have the intelligence to pick the right candidate, type of thing, which is extremely frustrating to hear. So when I got a call about, hey, we're going to start the Asian Soccer Coach Association, I thought, why? Like, do we need it? Like, what's the point of an advocacy group? So I joined the faith-based organization advocacy group with Mike Lynch. And again, if any of you have any faith in anything, like any religion, faith-based is really good. They have really good coffee time as well. They have like a mentorship program. It's really interesting, and it's definitely not about Christianity at all. It's just about faith-based. And I joined through a good friend of mine, Stacy Wilson, said, hey, you should join the Black Coaches Association advocacy group. Wow, let's go. I love it. So like any of you that are in here that don't necessarily have an ethnicity, maybe you're half Greek, half Romanian, and half Turkish, like why couldn't you go join the Black Soccer Coaches Association? I would love to have you come and join the Asian Pacific Islanders Coaches Association. And it's about sharing culture, sharing thoughts and things like that. So I thought, well, I don't know if we really need this, but okay, I'll join, I'll get involved. And it started with a very small group and it grew. So when I was at the convention in Kansas City, we went to the advocacy hour where they have a board of scholarships and grants that were given out. So every single person on here, this is gonna sound super arrogant, but should be my friend. And I'm accepting applications to be my friend. I have a few slots open, a few thousand that are open. And the reason why you should be my friend is, one, I'm on the foundation committee of United Soccer Coaches, and we're the committee that gives out scholarships and grants. And last year we gave away 31 scholarships and grants to 84 applicants. Only 84 people applied, and we left about $10,000 on the table where nobody applied for a scholarship or grant to go to the convention, to get a free membership, to get some coaching education, to come to your club. Like nobody applied. And for me, the foundation doesn't do a good enough job to promote that these scholarships are out there. So if you're a program and you're running something with the inner city or with girls or women or minorities or at-risk youth or underprivileged kids or something like that, you need to contact me and say, hey, Johnny, how do I apply for a grant through United Soccer Coach Association through the foundation committee? And I'll say, who are you? and you'll say, I'm Sophie Raslov. I was in your coffee thing. I was like, oh, Sophie, what's up? I love Sophie. I will totally do my best to give you the right information. I can't guarantee you'll get the grant, but I'll do everything I can to help you figure out how to do that. The next thing that I'm on is I'm also on the committee with the 30 under 30. 30 under 30 coaches is a great organization, a great organization. So if you have a coach that is under 30 years old that really has a passion to enhance their career and really hone their craft, you should apply. It's a great program. And currently I'm mentoring 2 mentees from that program. Globally, I mentor about 35 coaches worldwide right now. We get on a call once a week or once a month. We break down film, or we just talk about their career and how they can build it and just have really like personal conversations as well. So when I was at this advocacy hour in Kansas City last month, they had a board on the screen of scholarships and grants, and they had African Americans and women's and Latino. They didn't even have Asian. They had other 1%. I don't even get my name up there. We're in other. I looked at our chair. His name is Ashu from North Carolina. We're other. And Ashu's like, this is why we need to have an Asian Coaches Association, because we don't want to be an other. We need to be something more. And for me, it's really important. I'm not a biased person. You know, my whole family's Caucasian. I'm not like, oh, I want to get in, then I'm going to push my agenda of only supporting Asian coaches. No, I would help Sean. I would help Pip. I would have to help all the other Sean. I would help Darby. I'd help anybody. It doesn't really matter. But if you don't have a change, when I got on the foundation committee, it was mostly old white men. There's nothing wrong with old white man. My dad's an old white man. But sometimes if you're all old and white, you only have an opinion of that. And sometimes it's nice to get a different color or a different religion or just a different perspective to come in and say, hey, we can change this up. We can offer this to more people or something like that.
So Jonny,
I don't know, Candice, sorry.
No, you're good. I know you're going to get to where we need you to get to.
Sorry.
No, it's fantastic. It's the Jonny merry-go-round is what I'm going to hop on now, and I'm going to ask you something. And I heard the story where you, I think at the convention, told me about, you know, the other and how that lived experience in that moment was impactful to you, to many in the API community, and as allies, and many of us working in environments where we have players, youth players, you know, teenage to professional level players. The identity components, the allyship, what is true allyship going to look like so that other is not something put up, that it truly does represent, and we provide that regularly. I know you're doing work through the advocacy group, but we talked a little bit about like youth players and their name, for instance. Sure. You know, some of those things that as allies are impactful steps we should be making on a regular basis.
So I'm going to pick on Darby, absolutely gorgeous woman there, and just seems like a lovely woman, maybe has a potential to be my best friend. So I'll take Darby as an example. So let's say Darby comes to China, right? So she lives in China, she's working there, or she's a child, and she comes on my team. So if I can't pronounce Darby's name, I don't say, hey, Darby, change your name, and you need to get a Chinese nickname now. I'm going to call you Fu Shao. You're now Fu Shao. Darby's like, no, my name's Darby. My name's Darby. So I just came down here to Florida 2 weeks ago, and I'm at an academy here in Florida, and I'm going through the names, learning people. And this one Asian boy says his name's Stanley. Your name's not Stanley, because I know he's from Hong Kong. What's your name? He's like, Tung Lam. What? Tung Lam. Good. Why don't you call yourself Tung Lam then? Because the American coaches can't pronounce my name. Well, why would you choose Stanley? Why don't you choose a nickname like Tung Lam? So like when I go around and I coach in the US or in Europe, a lot of Western coaches refuse to learn the names, like the real names of these people from different countries, whether they're from Czech Republic, whether they're from Asia or Africa. Like, but when they go to Asia or Africa, you have to call me by my name. It's Nigel, not Nigel, it's Nigel. Well, why? Why is that? And what happens is we lose our identity, especially for these Asian kids over here. Maybe sometimes an African boy or somebody from Eastern Europe, which has a longer name. They get so, I don't want to call it like westernized or Americanized, but they just lose who they are. Your mother gave you your name. Everybody should do their best to try to learn it. And if you make a mistake, keep practicing, keep practicing. Dibby, Dobby, Dibby, Darby. I got it. I'm a genius. So I wish more youth coaches would just pronounce the name as best they can. 2 months ago, I was coaching at McGuire Air Force Base, Fort Dix, New Jersey. They've got 12,000 Afghan refugees there. So I'm coaching all these Afghanistan refugees and these kids. Wow, some of their names are ridiculously hard. Well, I was trying 20 times. I still couldn't get it. I don't care. Tomorrow I'm coming back. I'm going to try again until I can get it. I'm not going to say, no, I'm calling you Skip. Why can't I just learn their name? So I think that's important for coaches to really try their best to say their ethnic name proper as best as they can.
I think that's an important point. And we've done, numerous conversations on, for example, pronouns and the significance of understanding pronouns and, somebody's name and identity, how they really look at themselves. And if change is something enforced on them, we know they're not probably bringing their most authentic self, and we want the most authentic self. It's the best self. And so, Jonny, from understanding some of the impacts that have happened, we had the shooting in Atlanta, there are other things that where Asian Americans felt, or Asians felt targeted. I know you brought up some statistics yesterday that I think are important for people to understand, that this is a community that we need to be allies for, that this is significant, and we have lots of youth players particularly, and adult players that are struggling with that identity component. And so how specifically, with some of that data, can you share with us that we need to be attentive and aware of as it relates to the API community?
I would say, Candice, again, if some of you are coaching Asian kids, sometimes the Asian parents can't speak English very well. So maybe they're not as involved with their children, and it's difficult to communicate with them with what you're trying to do as a coach. So in 2021, the percentage, I believe it was like 361% of crimes against Asians were up. In San Francisco, it was over 500% of crimes against Asians. And, because this is also women in soccer component with Rachel and Pep, I love you guys, and what Candice does with her group as well. I mean, all of this comes back to, for me, domestic abuse, domestic violence, right? Like, why do we need more girls and women to play sports? If women that play sports, girls that play sports, they have a less chance of breast cancer, less chance of osteoporosis. They're stronger, they have more confidence, they have a less chance to get sexually assaulted. And if they are sexually assaulted, they have a higher chance of reporting that sexual assault. I mean, that is so critical and critical. And when you look at the US rates of domestic abuse and violence, they're higher for African-American women or lower social income. And then you have Latinos, and then you have Caucasians. And Asians are only about 18%. But is it 18% because that's an actual number, or they don't speak English so they can't report it? Or they're in a society where they're frowned upon reporting it, or they're losing that ability to have that free will and that confidence to stand up against an abuser and say, hey, I'm going to report this, I'm taking my kids, I'm doing this, or family pressure, economic pressure, things like that. So when I look across America and I see all the kids playing, again, if you're at a club, how many Asian kids do you see there playing? It's a very small percentage, and I wish we could get more of those kids out there, again, to build up confidence. Not every Asian kid needs to be a doctor, win the spelling bee, become a lawyer, be a financial hub manager. So again, not to sound ridiculously arrogant, but I love coaching around the world as an Asian guy, because it's the first time a lot of Asian kids or Caucasian kids have seen an Asian coach, like literally the first time. So when I was in Long Island, Sean, over the summer between Memorial Day to Labor Day, I had so many Chinese parents come up to me and Asian parents come up to me after tournaments and saying, "You're the first Asian coach I've ever seen. Like, this is awesome. Like, where do you train? Like, I want my kid to be with you," because he needs to have that type of mentor, that if he wants to get into sports, there are people that are successful in sports. And it's just nice to have that diversity. Again, no offense to Lori Fair and Tiffany Roberts and different Asian women that really spearheaded Asian, but they're not really involved enough for me because of their careers. They're really like, let's go type of thing. Like, let's go and really support, the younger girls, the next generation.
Yeah, and I think that was where I was hoping we would transition into is, the youth players and the impact that we can make and their confidence building up, and, male, female, and non-binary want to make sure that they're feeling their most authentic self. But we have a whole group of adults, and particularly women, within the API community that I think struggle to find that relatability. And I know with Fearless and Capable, I'm all about finding relatable mentorship and how that really can benefit and bring out a safety net and some, real true essence of understanding of maybe the lived experiences I've had. And so from your point of view, how and where are places that we could start to connect, young girls that are looking to maybe coach? What could we be doing for women that are working in our organizations, whether it's a club, a college program, professional organizations? What are things we should be doing as it relates particularly to the API community? Where are places we can help give them that relatable advocacy and support and mentorship, in your opinion?
So I'm going to show you something that people might think is racist.
Oh, jeez.
But I'm going to show you anyway.
Okay,
Yeah,
Jonny.
okay. So when I was little, even up to maybe 6 months ago, right? If I have a kid come up to me or somebody, something, they do this to me, right? Like in Africa, in other countries in Europe. So when they do that to me, I go like this. So like, yeah, my eyes are almond shaped. Your eyes are round. Okay, like I don't really care. Like I don't know what that means. So I've dealt with so many kids, and again, to you people that are on here that are split, like half Asian and half African American, or half Latino or half Caucasian, and the Asian trait is always a submissive one. And I'm 100% sure you guys have players that are half Asian, and they're embarrassed to be half Asian. They're embarrassed to say I like rice, or I eat with chopsticks, or my grandmother doesn't speak any English, but she does this type of Chinese dance or whatever it is. And I've spoken again with so many Amerasian players, and I said, when you were growing up, did people know that you were half Asian? Your father was Asian or your mother was Asian? No, like I hid it. Like again, like Tiger Woods, he's one of the greatest golfers ever, but everybody says he's black. Have you seen his mother? She's 5'3" Thai woman. Like, he's half Asian, but he doesn't really like embrace his Asian ethnicity. And it's not cool to be Asian or something like that. And I wish there was a way our coaches could really like say like, hey, you're half Asian. That's awesome. Your mom's from Taiwan or your mom's from Philippines. That's great. Instead of making fun of something like that. And I think that would build on it. Sorry, Candice, I feel like I'm going sideways a little bit, but I wanted to say that because I've got too many half or multi-ethnic kids, and the Asian trait is always the lesser one, unfortunately. And if they had more mentors and coaches and teachers that would pull them out, I want them proud to be who they are. Like, again, this kid Tung Lam from Hong Kong, he's just like, call me Stanley, I'm American now. No, be proud you're from Hong Kong. That's awesome. He speaks 3 languages. I speak 1. I speak 2. I speak broken English and English. That's it. But he speaks 3 languages. I mean, that's amazing to me. Amazing.
Yeah. No, and I think that's really important. And I think it absolutely ties into adults, and in particularly women, where I think you brought up some great points about why it's so important for women to be involved in sport, whether that's in participation or working in sport, just the collaboration that sport, and particularly I'm a big fan of soccer. That's why I'm here. That soccer can do and bring to the experience that women have, and the health factors and the benefits, the mental health. And I think that aspect of identity is so crucial. And I hope that we're starting, if everyone on the call is starting to understand that Jonny and many others have had these lived experiences that we've maybe seen. We've seen maybe the kid go up and adjust their eyes. But what are things that we need to be doing, which is calling in? And that's why I've really appreciated, the tone that Women in Soccer has set, along with Coffee in Progress, that this is a call in culture, not a call out, hey, when you do this, this is how it makes me feel. And I think Jonny's giving us so many amazing examples of things that he has whether experienced or seen. And the fact that you were like, no, Stanley, that's not your name. That's not your name. I think that's the point we can all make as allies. And as representatives is in the community. So there's some really great things that are going on in the chat of stories that are being shared where really at the same time, people are asked to be fitting in rather than just being authentic to who they are. And so, keep those coming. And if you have any questions for Jonny specifically, please throw them in the chat and we'll make sure those get asked. But we are getting closer to time. So I do kind of want to wrap up in a way that I think is really amazing and one of the projects that Jonny is working on. And that is this charity that is coming along. There's some bumps in the road and we won't necessarily dive into why too much. But in terms of, and that's all on like the legal trend, it's not the mission that I'm so excited for him to be doing. So Jonny, if you can give me a little bit and give our audience a little bit of what you're working on for this charity and the mission you're trying to achieve with it.
Thank you, Candice. But before I do that, real quick. So one of the
always a but.
I know. So one of the things that I did with my clubs overseas is we, at the beginning of practice, because I was working in international schools, we had kids from all over the world, we would sing each kid's national anthem differently each day. So one of the things that I wish that the parents or the coaches would do is every week, once a week, where are you from? Share your culture. Because when I think about hate and ignorance and that type of stuff, a lot of times it comes from fear. Like, I don't know you. I don't know your religion. I don't know your smell. I don't know the food you're eating. That's awful. That's not me. I don't like that. Well, why don't you come in and break bread with me? Why don't you come in and meet me and meet my family and stuff like that? So like for my team here in Florida, I said, like, today we're going to focus on your culture. Share with us, what holidays you do and this, how did you get your independence? What languages you speak and stuff like that. And it's a way really to embrace each other. And as a team, and if you have a coach that's saying this is good, you have a good mentor, as opposed to a coach saying no, right? We don't want anything like that. So if you're on this call, you're already amazing, because coaches that don't go to United Soccer Coaches Convention and coaches that don't get involved in these types of programs, they're usually awful. They're just screaming at their kids all the time. So we need to, I don't know, get rid of those coaches and spread more love.
I think you just
educate.
gave us an easy solution on that one.
I don't know. We need to educate more. I'll just run up and hug everybody I see, but it's COVID, so I can't do that. But I'm vaccinated. So back to my charity. So I started the charity right when COVID hit, so it was perfect timing. Like the Lord blessed me, and it's like, Jonny, start your charity, and then I'm gonna bring this plague. So I didn't get it fully 501c3. That's why it's a little bit on hold, but it's called Women's Equality in Soccer Foundation. And I've got partners all over the world, in Australia with an Aboriginal girls group there, in Pakistan coaching Taliban refugees there, in Israel, a bunch of in Israel, there's definitely a need for more women's soccer there. And I'm good friends with the Palestinian women's national coach as well, so doing things in Palestine there as well. So the main two functions are, one, we need to create more opportunities for women coaches. And how do you do that is you need to get them educated. So through my group, we're going to pay for women to get their coaching licenses. So I had meetings with CONCACAF and I had meetings with the Asian Football Confederation. And I said, can we do a women's only coaching course and my group will pay for this? And they say, Jonny, this is great, of course, no problem. And the reason is, which I hated, the reason is we need more women coaches that are C license so they can coach the little kids. Really? I was like, okay, good, because we're going to do a B, and then we're going to do an A, and then we're going to do a pro. Like, you're killing me right now. You're killing me. That's the reason, because we need them to coach the little kids. Stop. Anyway, so I'm going to make change, and we're going to get these women funded, because again, if they have to take care of their house, they don't have the money to go do the course or the time. So I'm going to sort that out. And then the second thing is get more girls to play the sport, or create more opportunities for girls to play. So one, they need the right equipment. And Candice, you and me are both friends with Sarah with the Sports Bra Project. She's awesome. I love her to death. But then also on the other side, in countries that I've been to, a lot of girls cannot go outside of their hut if they're on their cycle, if they're menstruating. So I'm going to raise money so we can get reusable menstruation cloths, so we can get them out to them so they can go to school and then they can keep competing and playing as well. And then trying to create obviously more opportunities for girls with more fields and things like that. So I know a lot of people because I'm super popular and good looking. So what I'll do is I'm pretty good at writing grants. So getting grants and working with the U.S. State Department, there's really money everywhere. There really is. You just have to know how to get it and what to say, and then who you need to buy McDonald's for, basically. And I have those connections. So if you have a group that's really going well, I don't want to like start anything. I want to support. So I'll go get the money and then I'll give it to you. but don't go to Macy's or Amazon. Like actually put it in your projects, like giving balls and cones and bibs or doing coaching education courses. So I'm going to be sending US coaches, like national team coaches, overseas to do coaching education courses for the coaches, not like just sitting playing with the kids, actually getting more female coaches out there and empowering them, and then hopefully being able to give them a stipend as well, Candice, for a lot of the programs that I'm working with. HESTFC is a great program in Greece. It's an all refugee women's team, and then they play in the Refugee World Cup, which is in Sweden every year. That's another awesome group. So there's just so many awesome groups out there that need support and need help. And yeah, lots of opportunities. I'm super excited.
No, and I am too. And when you were telling me about this project, my mind was just, starting to do the Rolodex of all the people that I wanted you to connect to and understand. And as a woman that, money was not always the thing that was abundant in order for me to take coaching education. So I can only imagine if my lived experience is that, lived experiences of others, that is sometimes a barrier and an obstacle to progressing your career. And so I think that's really amazing work in terms of what you're doing, particularly within the coaching education. And as a coaching educator and an all-female license I'm running in Kansas City right now, I sincerely appreciate it. And that's amazing. And if you need coaches, let me know. Or instructors, I will be happy to do wherever you want to send me, Jonny. But at the same time, I think this is a really good segue to the fact that if you are looking to be a part of the progress making, like this is a role model of somebody who is like, I'm just going to keep going, and that the challenges or obstacles are something to simply overcome, not a reason to stop. And I think when we talk about allyship and anti-racism, those challenges, those obstacles where we see like, well, how could we make it better? Rather than stopping, go educate. Go find the resources, the articles, the podcasts, the books, the people that are saying, listen, I am trying to do this, come alongside me and let's all make this a little bit better for tomorrow. And I think that's a really important message that I hope everyone is taking with them. And Jonny, the progress you are helping, not just within the API community, but the game alone is really, really amazing and super appreciated. And I know you have some young boys that are in Panera eating and needing to get ready for their match, and you need to be responsible.
Can I give a shout out real quick, Candice?
Yes, of course, Jonny.
So Candice is doing this mentorship program. And if you're somebody like Sean McCaffrey, who's a little bit of an older gentleman, I really wish you'd be a mentor. Rachel, I wish you'd be a mentor. Pippa, I wish you'd be a mentor. I think it's really important because these days with what's going on with COVID, the coach, the female or the male has to be the rock all the time for their husband, for their wife, for their kids, for their team. And when do they have a time to just say everything that's going on their plate? And I know personally so many coaches that are struggling. So it's not about tactics and technique and fitness and making the right practice. Sometimes it's about, you know what? I just left my wife. I'm struggling in my marriage right now. I've gone through that. And to sit on the phone with one of the guys that I'm mentoring, he's like, I just need someone to talk to, Jonny, that's not going to judge me and say like I'm a bad person or something like that. So I reach out to him every day. How are you doing? What's going on? I hope you're good. How are your kids? And just that little bit of, I've got another coach that cares about me. Like I say I love you to everybody. It's not even funny. And for a lot of men, it's like, that's weird. Like, Jonny, stop telling me you love me. I don't care, Sean. I love you. That's who I am. I don't care. If you don't love me, I don't care. I still love you. I'm going to kill you with kindness. And I wish there were more female mentors. Like, it doesn't have to be males always mentoring. I wish there were more female in the game that were mentoring each other and saying, hey, there's a light, there's a woman that I want to aspire to be like, and she's kicking butt. And then when you talk to her, you find out, no, she struggled a lot. She's gone through a lot of pains. And I thought she had a perfect life, perfect husband, perfect kids. No, she's going through the same stuff I'm going through. And we can relate and we can have empathy for each other. And I think that's really important, especially these days as well.
Yeah, and that's where, when we talk about male allies in particular to women working in the industry, Jonny is a great example of, being someone that has had influence for years in the game. And I'm not going to date you because I don't want you to make you feel too old in this
No, I'm
conversation.
50. I look amazing. Thank you.
You do look amazing for 50. I do. But the part being is that he is finding women, especially minorities, and raising their voice, raising their profile, getting people connected. And so if you are a male and an ally and somebody in a leadership or a position of influence and power, how and where are you doing the same types of actions? Where are you finding minorities, women of color, women in general, non-binary, all of it, that we have the same sort of voice and representation at the table, but it takes people that are at the table to help bring us. And so I think that is such a crucial part, Jonny. I hope I sincerely appreciate what you do, and sincerely appreciate the actions that you maybe even not realize how much of an influence it has. So thank you for your time. Good luck at, I believe, your game, U4 game, whatever. You've got the
Yes, it's 12 o'clock. It's okay. We'll just have two kids play. They're really good.
It'll be
Again,
fun.
Pep, you're going to share my information. Anybody can reach out to me. Once I hit my quota of friends, it's done. So you better apply right away. I've only got a few thousand left. Sean McCaffrey, you better get in touch with me. And I don't know. Yeah, Candice, Rachel, Pep, thanks for doing what you do. You guys are totally awesome. Awesome. And everybody here, totally love you.
He does, and he totally means it, and he will see you and hug you when it's COVID appropriate. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We will have these quarterly, so be ready in a couple of months to see the next topic and next time and date. As always, from my side of things, remember to be fearless and capable, be an ally. Let's make the game better today, tomorrow.
Candice, can I say something real quick? I'm sorry, I saw my friend Stacy Wilson. Stacy Wilson just won the state championship high school tournament last night. Awesome. Stacy Wilson coaching the boys soccer team. She's the head coach of the boys soccer team at the Pine School in Florida. 2A state champs. Awesome, Stacy. I totally love you.
Yes, Stacy needs a shout out. She's an amazing human being. All right, Jonny, no more words. I love you, but we have to go. And so I'm saying bye to you, and I'm saying bye to everyone else. Thank you, Rachel and Pip and Women in Soccer, for letting me host this. And everyone have a great Friday, a great weekend, and we will see you back here in a couple of months. Have a great one.
See ya.
Bye.